committing to your own liberation. February 1, 2015. Who you often think you are, is your ego at work, yet your ego is not really a thing but a set of self-centered behaviors and characteristics that guide your heart and mind along a certain process of ways and methods. Typically, dear ones, these self-centered behaviors have focus and tend to exaggerate your own significance of self. Yet if you look deeply within, you will eventually come to the conclusion that the self you drum up in your mind does not exist. The self that your ego created is pure illusion. What we often observe is that you truly do believe and trust in the perception of yourself as an individual, a person that is separate from everyone else. We also witness many dear souls believing more in their created self than they do in God or anything else. This is when the ego becomes God. And this, dear ones, is the central point of your illusion, that your life and its process and direction becomes scattered on a path that would have provided you with opportunities for aligning your energies with that of God's regardless which spiritual quest you undertook. Part of the reason why so many dear souls don't excel on any spiritual quest or direction is due to the fear of losing their ego. They often feel by giving up their precious ego, they will lose something precious in themselves. The ego is what holds so many of you back. It is the hindering part of you that requires you to overcome it if you have any inkling on succeeding in any course or direction you have chosen for yourself. It requires real, true emotional and mental maturity to free yourself from the clutches of your ego and from its debilitating process that had you creating grand illusions about yourself. If you think about the Matryoshka nesting dolls, you know as you remove one, you discover a smaller one. Think as this with your ego. As you remove layers, the ego becomes smaller and you bring yourself closer to emptying yourself of all egoic substance and into the realms of pure, divine love that is always unconditional. It is when you finally reach this place, that your precious heart fills you with compassion for your total self, which will include compassion and kindness for your body, heart, mind and soul. Compassion for the cashier who checks out your groceries, compassion for your neighbor, the mail carrier, and all those that reside within the city you call home, and for those who also share Mother Earth as their home. But as long as your ego is permitted to reign, your faith in yourself becomes reduced, and any signs of true genuine compassion can only be found in fragments as your authentic self remains closed off in a shell of its own existence, while observing from the inside all the calamity the ego self is creating. When you finally begin to liberate yourself, you begin to see the world around you with much more clarity and understanding, and you are able to increasingly let go of the illusions your ego created of yourself. When you are able to observe your ego in action, you are able to see every small and rigid self-centered compulsion such as hostility, grasping, fear, vanity, self-importance, resentment, overindulgence, self-pity, biased opinions, thoughts of treachery, criticism of others, gossip, greed, and having the idea that the universe revolves around you, that you live in a me, mine, and I world. If you are able to observe any of this or others similar as a witness of your ego in action, then you are able to also see your truth. Then you are able to willingly and unflinchingly approach this false side of yourself and begin to ground yourself into the present by accepting what was and becoming who you are meant to be, without your ego present, trying to run things. We do understand that it can be difficult to realize that the ego is what controls you in this materialistic world. Once you can clearly see all that your self-centered side has created, you can begin to unburden yourself from its deep-rooted clutches you allowed to grow to begin with. The more compassion and love that is pure and genuine you bring to your life in all its many aspects, the less your ego will be present. It is your responsibility, dear ones, to free yourself from the weight of your ego and allow your authentic self to finally breathe clearer and brighter, and for you to discover there is life beyond the ego's fleeting satisfactions. And this life that is finally discovered, even with its ups and downs, is beautiful. Once you are in control of your emotions and feelings and your ego is finally dissolved into nothingness, then you are able to live a fulfilling life that is unencumbered by illusion, a life that moves always in the present. It is up to you, dear ones, to make this happen, and we believe you can, once you are ready and willing to commit yourself to your own liberation. I am Melchizedek through Julie Miller. spiritualnetworks.com